Welcome, everyone.
Hey,
Awesome. Okay. I'll keep letting people in as people join. And Nancy, feel free to take it away.
okay. Welcome everyone. I don't know if you can't see me. Did you share with you or highlighting me or I'll just start. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first virtual programming that the Art and Everywhere community has put together. And I have four people that are going to talk about residencies, four different residencies that people have come to. And they have a list of questions that I gave them, but they also are just going to, stream of consciousness, think about things that were important to them attending. So I just want to say, if you're not on the email list for Art and Everywhere, go to the website and please sign up so you're in touch with everything, all the events coming up. We have our first gallery opening of Gallery Rag in Gloucester this Friday, the 20th. Next Friday, the 20th, 5 to 7:30 in Rocky Neck, Gloucester. It's a street party and a fundraiser. The fundraisers to promote and fund the art residency programs that Art and Everywhere is offering. So I just want to give a shout out to Deb Reed and Tracy Hayes, who and also Laura Ebenson, who are just doing an amazing job pulling this together. And yes, so our first person that I'm going to ask to share where they've been and talk a little bit about their experience is Nancy Grace Horton. She's an old friend of mine, and I was actually one of her professors way back in the day. At Leslie, as a matter of fact, it was called, I believe, Leslie Atelier. And so Nancy is a photographer, and she graduated in 2012 from the Art Institute of Boston, and she went to Mildred's Lane in Pennsylvania. Okay, Nancy.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, thanks, Art Plus Everywhere and everyone. It's really exciting that we can have these opportunities to come together. And I always enjoy talking to you, Nancy. So thanks for inviting me. So I'm going to share my experience at Mildred's Lane, which is in Beach Park, Pennsylvania. And it's just across the river from Narrowsburg, New York. And the residency was started by Mark Dion and J. Morgan Puett. And the environment itself is just tantalizing. And this is Morgan sitting there in the white and artist Amy Yos, who lives in Narrowsburg. So to describe Mildred's Lane, I've decided to consult the glossary of the user's guide to Mildred's Lane, which Morgan has written, and I think really gives a nice synopsis of this really unique experience. So comportment is the word I am going to share with you, and it's a noun. 1, comportment is behavior and bearing. 2, behavioral relations to the environment, systems of labor, forms of dwelling, clothing apparatuses, and creative domesticating, with it amongst others, all of which compose and ethics of comportment and are embodied in work styles, which is then described more about the residency. 3, comportment as commons offers us a way to navigate everyday experience. The term comportment is conceptualized as belonging to or affecting a whole community or commons. The turbulent multiplicities of deportment, ethics, etiquette, criticality, and above all, hospitality allow for comfort and freedom, opening up possibilities for new types of democratic exchange. So that's a lot to digest. Here are some more pictures. Now, I learned about Mildred's Lane through a talk that Judith Berry gave back at AIB when it was in Cambridge. And Judith Berry, some of you may be familiar with her. She was the director of the AIB program, and then Ben Sloat took her place. So she shared this experience, which was like a brief note in her talk, but it really just caught my interest because of people coming together. It felt almost like a mini MFA program where in the evenings people would visit, being in a unique place. It just seemed like really dynamic, and I wanted to keep my eye out to maybe go in the future. So I kept waiting and looking, and I was really wanting something that was photography based. And each year there's a different theme. So finally, in 2021, there was a summer theme called Silver Iron Light, and it focused on handmade 19th century photographic processes, including tintypes, cyanotypes, and anthotypes. So that really aligned with something that I would be interested in engaging in. So I was able to find several different resources for funding. And it was at a time that it was COVID, so things were a little different because there was a smaller group of people, and I don't think as many people could come and go, and everything was just coming alive again. So that created a unique experience, really. So this year, the title is The Year of the Hoosh. So are you asking, wondering, what does hoosh mean? Because I certainly didn't know what it meant until I got there. So I'm going back to the glossary, and hoosh is a verb or a noun. It's a practice of conceptually charged styling and cleaning. The stylistic activation and conceptual engagement with one's environment. So this is really, all of these things really are what drive the whole experience at Mildred's Lane. These were the folks that participated alongside me, and Noah was the lead expert on the 19th century photo processes that we were using. So we had someone who guided us and really supported each of us to make the work that we were excited to make while we were there. The environment was really unique. We were in the barn and just setting things up because things had been a little bit quiet at the time because of COVID. And in the summer, it's just beautiful to be outside. Everyone was working together and separate. Everyone had their own projects, yet we were helping each other and sharing in the experience. And everything moved very slow. These processes, especially using a large format camera, is slow in general, and then it's hot, and we're just down the end of this dirt road and not really connected to a community without having to drive back out this very rough road. So things slowed down nicely, and it really gave the opportunity to engage in the different works that we wanted to make and try out. So for me, I wanted to create a series of 3 tintypes of dresses. And then I started using a 4x5 camera, which isn't something I normally did. So that was a new way of exploring for me. And everyone really just slowed down and uh, focused in and made work. It was very busy and active. And this is Narrowsburg. I was combining, shooting with a 4x5 and then doing tintypes and then using my cell phone to make negatives to then make cyanotypes. And everything revolved around the hospitality and the meals. So we actually, this is a cyanotype that this coat hanger Morgan designed. So then I'm making a cyanotype of the imprint of that. And this is Madeline Cass on the right. She was visiting us and helping us do our projects. And everyone really came together. It was very nice in that way. I enjoyed the people that I was with, and It was very much a group that came together. And as I was saying, the everything revolved around meals as well. The meals was as much a creative part of the experience as making the art. Um, Everything was very systematic. Morgan uses words like entanglement, system of entanglement, and the work styles and triangulation, and all these things threaded the day and the days together. So meals were very much theatrical in a way, a presentation, coming together. It was very important.
Did you cook together? Did you make the food?
Yes, we did cook together.
Mhm.
And then there were visiting artists, and Liz Collins, maybe some of you know of her work. She visited us, and she brought a car full of fabrics and things that she likes to use. And so she just invited us to work with her and said, "Here's my stuff," and her car is overflowing with things. And I just was completely attached to this pink, I don't even know, like fake leather. But I'm like, what on earth would I do with it? So it was just lovely to hang out with her and have her making her work. She installed this whole beautiful piece into the trees. And so it gave me an opportunity to photograph, talk to her, and then think about what on earth I would possibly do with this. And so very simple, but to me, it was this big deal that I install this piece into the space. Just a new way of thinking for me. It was really fun to engage with someone like that, and just really opened up ways of thinking and fun that I hadn't done before. It was just, I really enjoyed the experience. And another person that I met, Leah Karansky, she happened to be a designer, and I was in the process. I had received a grant to create a magazine of my own work, and I was really looking for a designer. So after the residency, I was able to work with her to complete that project.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask each of you also to put any of your own information in the chat, and maybe the name Mildred's Lane for people. And FYI, Mark Dion, who is I guess you could say, the
He
owner,
was founder and
founder.
collaborator with.
He visited and did crits at Leslie. So if anyone is interested in applying, do mention Leslie, because he knows about us. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions for Nancy, put them in the chat, and we're going to reserve about 10 minutes in the end for people to address each of you if they have questions, okay?
Sure.
Thanks so much, Nancy.
Thank you.
Okay, so Megan, would you go next?
Sure. Excuse me, I didn't I don't have a slide presentation. So I'm just gonna go by just gonna talk about my experience. So I went to the Woodstock Birdcliff Guild, which is in Woodstock, upstate New York, in the Catskills. I had spent about 26 days there, September 1st through October 26th of last year. And this was my first residency in a long time. I had done several other residencies, but they were more informal and they were a long time ago. So I had done a residency at Johnson Vermont Studio Center in Johnson in upstate, in Vermont. And I was there for a month and then ended up working there for an additional 2 months afterwards, which allowed me to participate in the residencies at that time. That was 25 years ago. So I hear it, and I've noticed that it's a lot more expensive to get into now. And that is one of the residencies that I applied to last summer. and I did not get into. So when I was applying, one really good piece of advice that I was given is to not to just look for residencies in the summer. That is the most popular time that people are going to be applying. And so, you have like, maybe artists that also teach in colleges, they have the summer off. You have all these artists that have the summer off. And so you're up against a whole lot more group of individuals. So when I ended up changing my availability to September, I realized that would make a lot more sense. So if you have flexibility to be able to take a residency in the fall, winter, or spring, you may have more opportunities open to you. And so I was accepted at the Berkliff Guild in Woodstock. And yeah, let's see. So the environment is very beautiful. It's on the side of a mountain, and it's really amazing environment. There's a lot of wildlife. You'd be very surprised, even though it's down the street almost from Woodstock, which is a cute little town. It's a bit touristy. It still feels you still feel very much separated from like the city, because it's in the country. And so they have about 36 buildings on the campus. And it was built in around 1902, I think. And it was originally built as an artist colony. And it was to support artists in the arts and crafts movement. So a lot of the buildings are that style. And so there are some sort of things that I'll bring up about Berkliff, which is very, maybe particular to Berkliff itself and not all other residencies. So because of the age of the place, the buildings, some of the buildings are rustic. So there are some of the buildings they have renovated. So one of the studios that Eva Hesse stayed in has been completely renovated, and it's in great condition. There are a lot of other buildings that are in great condition. Some things aren't in the best condition. So that could affect your experience, as it had affected mine. But I'm not here to say anything negative, because there were I'd say about 15 to 20 people in the residency program. And I would say that the artists are amazing, phenomenal people. It was an amazing experience, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. So when I was selected, I was offered they awarded me the cottage residency, which I applied for the communal residency. The communal residency is you're living in, it's basically styled as a lodge. And so everybody's living in a lodge, and then you're sharing a kitchen space and cooking together. So because they awarded me the cottage residency, I had my own cabin separate from that building. And I ended up also having a studio space within the cabin. I mean, it was still a great experience, and I learned a lot. I would just say, depending on, personality wise, I realized that I would have better benefited being in the lodge, because having my own separate cabin and studio space, when initially it seemed amazing and awesome, I realized the space was a little bit too small for me. And it also, I wasn't able to, I wouldn't say able, but just had less opportunity to socialize and make connections with folks, which I was really sad about in the end. I realized people really bonded because they were all living in the same building. Yeah. So that was just one little drawback. But outside of that, it was a really great experience. They did things like together, field trips, but you didn't have to do any of it. You weren't held to anything. So we did a field trip to the Al Held Foundation, which is in the Catskills. He was a painter who bought a dairy farm and renovated it for a studio, and the space is phenomenal, inspiring, very amazing to visit if you're up in that area. There was also, at the end of the residency, they had an open studios, which I think is pretty unusual for most residencies. Thinking about it now, I kind of wish I didn't do the open studios, only because it took time away from a couple extra days away from my residency. And I realized for me, I didn't really get going until like the latter half of the month. And so I could have used that extra time, but it was fine. The last 2 weeks, I ended up shifting my style of work to incorporating a style that I used to use a long time ago, and making quite a few realizations about my work, how I prefer to work. So, despite it not being the perfect, most amazing residency ever, it was still excellent. Sorry.
I think that in some ways that is the reason we go.
Exactly.
To get out of our own way, to not be home with the things we do every day, talking to the same people or going to the same places or whatever, and everything's different. And it is quite a transition, and
Yes.
it can be, hard to adjust to everything.
It was a huge challenge. I'd say, just because I'm in a different space, I'm all excited.
And so many tend to be rural.
Yeah. I
know.
mean, this place was phenomenal. There was a bear with 3 bear cubs walking through the property. I mean, there was owls at night. It was just gorgeous to be there. And there's also a Buddhist temple up on the top of the mountain, a beautiful drive, and you can go up there and see that. And that is really amazing little spot. So I mean, I highly recommend it.
That's great. Thank you. Can I ask one? So you said there's an average about 15 people at a time. That's kind of
It varies.
It varies, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 15, 20.
Do you think it's a tough one to get in?
I would say no if you're applying outside of the summer.
Right.
I mean, that's just my
I think that's
impression.
verbatim for most places, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was applying to more, I guess, prestigious or well-known places over the summer, and I definitely didn't get into those.
Yeah.
And so what I was really interested in was attending a place that was located close enough that I could use my car to overpack all my things.
Yeah,
that's another thing for
huge.
me. Like, I would love to go somewhere like West Coast or something, but I don't know how I would even begin to think about packing.
I was
artwork,
just looking at
like
one. I was just looking
supplies.
at one
Yeah.
in Tennessee, and they actually have a stipend added to the money they give you per week to pay for you sending work back and forth. So
Yeah.
they're all different.
They're all different. This one I did pay, even though it was partially funded by the Pollock and Krosner Foundation. I paid $800 for the month, and
That's
and it's
great.
broken up. Yeah.
That's really good.
And you cook your own food, and so my cabin had its own little kitchen.
Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome. So if you would put that in the chat so people can then, ask questions at the end, or just get, if they want to copy down the name of it, Briarcliff. Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. Okay, I am going to call on Nayda. So Nayda Cuevas went to school with me. We started at AIB in Boston, and the last semester, as so many of you know, we transitioned to Lesley. So we graduated from Lesley, the beginning of the program in Cambridge. I believe you went to Mass MoCA. That's what you're going to talk about? Yeah, that was the beginning of Mass MoCA, the beginning of that residency, right? That was pretty radical and wild that, oh my God, like it didn't exist before. It was a brand new thing. Okay, so whatever you want to talk about. Hi.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me and for listening. Yes, so I was part of Mass Mocha's Assets for Artists first group of artists in residence. I applied, I think there was a group of like 8 or 9 of us that were accepted in that first group. They're very well set up. They had like a welcoming committee, or like a little gathering on that first day, so we can all meet each other. Had food for us there. And then we, housing wise, it was an apartment building that I have a partnership with a local person in the community. And so I shared an apartment with maybe 3 other artists. I can't remember. We're all doing our own thing. So we were barely, running into each other in our spaces. Had a kitchen and everything. We had to supply our own food. We did have to, it wasn't, it didn't provide a stipend. We actually had to pay for like essentially our room and board. Not so much the studio space. I was in a separate building at Mass Mocha campus where we all had individual studios. For me, it was a great opportunity to get to know some of the artists that were friendly. Some are not as friendly. You will see that. Some are really like into their work, and some are into a little bit of socializing. But for the most part, everybody, was kind, and the team at Mass Mocha is incredible. They gave us tours of the whole museum, and I really felt like they were very open and giving into the start of how the museum began and how the Artists for Residency program, became to be. And I was really happy to be a part of that. I was there for 2 weeks with my initial artist in residence there. I began a body of work with about, I think I did 17 small paintings at the time. This is very important for me to do an artist in residence because I was a stay-at-home mom with a toddler, and I needed space away from home to be able to produce body of work. I had already set the intention and the goal for producing an amount of work, and having my mom come take care of my son while I was, focused on just painting was what I needed to just focus and not think about the other duties that we have when we're at home. So just focusing on time for me was fabulous. And again, just, the connections that you make while you're there on a residency is great. After that, I returned a year later because Assets for Artists does invite their alums to come back again for a minimal fee. I wanted to do a completely different project, even a medium that I haven't done before. I did screen printing. They had somebody local who showed me the basics. I just picked it up from there, and I just went on producing the body of work that was part of a project of a self-published art book that I made. So it was, again, an incredible time. They have the resources and community there. That was an opportunity for me to be able to complete another body of work. Outside of Mass Mocha, I also did an artist in residence at a gallery that was in Watertown. It's not open anymore. It was called Room 83 Spring. And that artist in residence is, the owners would open it up during the summer and invite an artist to use it as a studio space because summers were a slower time period for them. They did want like a fee paid, but I showed that I kind of didn't have the funds. I don't know. I don't remember how much I paid. It might have been, I don't know, a couple $100 just for my time to use my time there. They came to my home to interview me. I didn't see anybody else while I was there. It was just a gallery room. Again, I completed my 100 portraits from one of my series. So what I began at Mass Mocha, I finished at that artist in residence. And while I was there, I took advantage of being able to really document how I envisioned that body of work to be displayed in a gallery space, which allowed me to, documented and used those photographs for other submissions and things like that. I also took the opportunity and did an opening reception, and I just reached out via email to a bunch of local different curators, and fingers crossed, and you know, you never know who shows up. And I did have the curator at the time of the Fitchburg Art Museum, who had seen my body of work through another submission an art call that I submitted, who came to the opening and saw the work installed, and later invited me to be a part of a portrait show at the Fitchburg Art Museum. So again, you never know what connections and what things will lead to an opportunity. And then after that, the last artist in residence I did was at the Nobles and Greeno School in Dedham. It's one of these like very private, expensive, as I can say, schools that was by far the best residency in terms of like, they paid me for my time to be there. They provided me housing on campus there. They gave me a gallery. They have a gallery on campus that I had a solo show in. I was able to collaborate a little bit or invite and have conversations with the student body there and produce a whole new body of work while I was there. And they were very giving. Anything that I asked, they just handed to me. It was, again, one of those, was like, really? Okay. Like it was just an incredible experience. And that was for 1 month that I was there at the Nobles and Greeno School. And again, you know, all of these artists in residencies, I spent like a whole year dedicating to like really understanding what was available out there and what would be a good fit for me and my family. And, you know, just, you know, to get some time to produce a body of work. So I really dedicated anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a week, just researching and applying. It was like my administrative job during the week. It was intense, the amount of time that I invested into these. And then eventually I did learn not to spend so much money on artist calls and all these things. So if I do spend money, is if there is a curator that I want to make sure my work goes under their eyes. Like I want this person to see my body of work. Other than that, is some random person that's another artist, I don't even bother applying and paying, you know, the $30 or $40 fee to apply to these things. So I became very selective as to where I wanted to invest my money in, because again, this is an investment. Everything you apply for is an investment. Even if it's outside of the state, then it's another investment that you're shipping out work to. So, you know, figuring out what worked for me was key, and what I was going to get in return out of, you know, these experiences. But I've had great experiences with my artists in residencies. And I think that's pretty much it. I think I spoke about, the housing situation at the Nobles and Greeno School. Again, was like on the campus. It was great. They had its own little kitchen. They even gave me a card to use their cafeteria food, and I can get food there as well. Again, that was like, I was spoiled there at Nobles and Greeno School.
Yeah, thank you. You gave excellent information. Definitely. I forgot all about the drive-by, the residency in the summer. And also, I remember you went to Mass MoCA, but I also forgot about the Greeno School. Greeno?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about those. And you gave some really great insight into that you need to spend time in admin and decide where you want to. You can't just throw your money all over the place. Like, think, do I want to, you know, go there? Like, what is it? What is it about this place? Or, you know, are they going to give me a stipend? I mean, it's pretty competitive now, I think, in general. But there is help. Usually they have some money on the side. Go ahead.
Well, and what I did for the first for Mass MoCA, because I didn't have the money and they wanted to be supportive, and they met me halfway, but I'm like, well, I'm still halfway. It's hard for me. It was hard for me at the time. I just put like I crowdfunded on Facebook, and I said, hey guys, I got invited to this. Anybody want to help me donate, $10 here or there? And I was able. I even got airplane tickets for my mom to come out from Florida so she can watch my son. Like, that's how supportive my friends were. It was incredible. So,
Yeah,
so yeah,
definitely.
don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and you'd be surprised how much your friends like really love and support, your own artwork and your practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in the chat, someone asked if you would write the name of the school that you did that. That was a while ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They still might have it. Okay, thank you so much. So we have one person to go. We have Rebecca. I say bombshell, McGee. And I love that. It's the best. And so take it away. And then we have some time, and we still have plenty of time. So spend as
Okay.
much time as you like. So welcome, Rebecca. Rebecca is a candidate at Clark. The rest of us are graduates. And so 2027. So I'm highly just jealous that you're in the program. I mean, when it was over, I wanted to keep writing papers and I didn't want it to end. I hope
Oh
you feel
yeah,
that.
I'm very excited. And
Oh,
I
it
see
is
some of my
just,
cohort on here too. And it's thank you so much for having me here.
yes,
And
well,
and Mildred's Lane, I'm so jealous that I've seen that. And Mark Diane, I saw him at Leslie actually when he spoke. And also the Woodstack Birdcliff residency at Ava Hess house. That's amazing. What else was gonna say is that that's such a great idea about inviting curators to your solo show. So those are my little comments for each of your talks. So I'm gonna share my screen. I have a few photos. Let's see. Tell me, can you see my screen? Oh, sorry. First of all, can you see my screen? Yes? Yes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about 4 different residencies I've been at. Just do a couple minutes for each one. This one here, this one, it was a newish residency that I think it's up maybe on 6 or 7 years now. The deadline has just passed, but it's in September, and it's the Cuttyhunk Island Artist Residency, and that's in Cuttyhunk, the island it's just beyond Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. You take a ferry to get there. It's just for 1 week. It was amazing for me because I am an artist that works with ocean debris and walking along the ocean. So it just seemed like a perfect match. I applied 1 year and did not get in, and then the next year I did. It was it's in this gorgeous house called the Avalon, and everyone has different rooms. There's many different ways to pay for it because some of them there's 5 different stipend money that they give for you to go. Like there's different ways to get there without paying for it, but then there's different rooms that you have to pay for. Everything's included. And there's delicious meals, and everybody eats together. And let's see. So while I was there, I was walking the beach. It's started out as just for painters, and they've recently started adding different medium. So I know that I was one of 2 sculptors that was there. And this is a painter who walked out as I was traveling. And this is the gorgeous house that you're at. And it was really nice. I found it to be too short. I wanted to stay there longer, but it was just amazing to wake up in the morning and do a full beach walk and then work in the studios, which on the right or on the left here we all had outdoor studios on the porch, which were really amazing. And we all ate together inside and outside, depending on the weather. So that is the first one that I went to, and let's see, and I applied for it again. They're now taking people who went before, so fingers crossed, we'll see. Maybe I'll go this year again. The next one I went to was last spring, and it's the New Bedford Whaling National Historical historical national park. And they take residents for 3 months, and you get this really beautiful studio on their second floor. I didn't take a picture of the side, but you get a view of the ocean and the Whaling Museum across the street and the cobblestone streets below, and you have full use of it. They're only open from Wednesday to Sunday, so I would, and it's not you don't spend the night there. I commuted there. It's about an hour drive for me from where I live in Natick. And it was, so I would go Wednesday, Sunday, every single day when I could and work in that studio. And they give you a amount of money they give you a stipend, first of all. I can't remember quite what it was $2,000, I think, around there, and to work there. And they also give you a material stipend, which was really amazing. And I chose with my materials to contact a couple of places that collected ocean debris. So I would be able to, like the Center for Coastal Studies, which gave it to me for free. And then this other place, Net Your Problem, where I paid for some of the cleaner ropes and stuff because I was going to be doing workshops. What I really liked about this residency is I was able to, I've never did a workshop with all different ages of people. I was able to do 3 different workshops that I created while I was there, and they lent me these weaving looms, which now I use on my own for workshops. And together with the people who came to my workshops that were there, I was able to create a piece of art on my own and in collaboration with the people who were at the residency. So, and then I was able to create a solo show at the very end on my own, and then I invited my aunt and her partner to sing sea shanties so you really can make it your own when you're there. The proposals are at the end of the summer. So this is the community piece I made with everybody. So with all the little loom works that everybody worked on, they made these little weavings and I sewed them together and made a whale's tail, which is in the Fitchburg Art Museum, the opening, and it's going to be opening next week. So I'm excited to see it in a beautiful gallery. Then I wanted to talk quickly. Tell me if I'm going over. I don't really know, but
No, you have plenty of time.
okay. So this one here, this residency I made up completely with my friend Stacy, who is a professor of sculpture at UMass Dartmouth, and she said that there was some money with the sustainability group and the Ledoux Center, and did I want to create a sculpture, a collaborative sculpture with her students and the sustainability. So I said yes, and pretty much I just created this residency where I would come in and I would do trash talks where I would invite artists to come in and talk. I would talk about artists who use trash. It would be like a club. So like I would come on Thursday night and do this trash talk club, and then we would work with trash. And then ultimately, I was given 30,000 plastic nip bottles that are like mini alcohol bottles. And me and the students created this huge project together where we had to use them to make a float for the parade in New Bedford. And we came up with this giant, it was a giant 1 block long sculpture monster creature from the Plasticine era. And we marched it through the streets of New Bedford. And that was a full year. And I got a stipend from sustainability in their school at UMass Dartmouth. And it was really a kind of a life-changing experience because it was more of a project than a residency. But I really liked that it forced me to be able to work like this. So this is the sculpture monster being paraded through New Bedford with all the students from UMass Dartmouth. And then the final one that I want to talk about is the Ready Made Gallery in Orleans has a DNA residency, and that's in Provincetown, where you're in a old barn above the tennis club on Bradford Avenue in Provincetown. It is invite only or a referral. So that's a totally different kind of thing. And I don't even know who gave the referral for me, but I was invited. And in exchange, you stay in a house in Orleans, and then you can work all day in this huge barn gallery over the tennis courts. Uh, you can do whatever you want. And I found this to be really exciting because I was able to create a full entire realized piece of weaving that took me 60 hours of weaving in this 2 week period because I just was in there, and there was a couple other people who were there as well, but this one was the most like solo. And at the very end, you're invited to, they have a gallery in Orleans, and so I was able to show my work in the gallery with other artists that were there. And I was, in exchange for staying at the house in the residency, instead of paying money, you trade a couple pieces of art or piece of art, depending on what, like you show them a collection of art and they choose some things and you kind of go back and forth and decide if that is fair. And I think, so those are, oops, I'm going to stop the share because I'll just tell you that my experience with these 4 different places, they're all completely different. And I really, I think that the ones that stuck out to me the most is, well, the Cuddy Hunk one, just because it was totally my place that I wanted to be on the beach and working with beach debris, which is why I applied again. But I really suggest the Whaling Historical National Park. It's in the national park system, and they're just so accepting, kind, and like help you so much while you're there. They they promote you, and it really, when you say to someone that you've had a residency at the national park system, it's really pretty awesome because you get a lot of people. I guess it just seems like the connections are great through the national park system. And as for one last thing I'll say about the meeting of people at every residency I went to, I made really great connections that I still work with and I still reach out to and I do collaborations with. So I feel like even though the Ready Made was pretty much a solo endeavor, there was other people there that I was able to bond with, and we still continue to talk. So I believe a residency situation is just a great way to connect with other artists.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that it was an invitation or a recommendation. And the variance in residencies is pretty vast. You know, how much you pay, whether they pay for everything, they pay you. Sometimes they pay for your flight, they pay for your materials, they feed you. I know some of them, they deliver lunch to your door so you don't have to break working, but you eat together. Also, you mentioned giving a piece. That's often, they ask, would you give us something from this residency? And then not all of them do. Some of them are, you know, whatever you get done is your own. Yeah, they vary so much. I think even though I had only 4 of you, I think I had quite a variation on the different residencies, right? So let me see. So everyone pretty much drove, would you say, to all the residencies that you guys mentioned? Nobody flew
I took a
to,
ferry.
yeah, okay. You know, no one flew to another country, which I have, but this isn't about me. But I mean, that's a whole other situation, you know. But there's quite a bit that happen all over the world. I mean, just about every country you can think of. You can go to, you know, Morocco, you can go to Azerbaijan, you can go anywhere. I mean, they're pretty widespread. And I just want to mention the transcultural exchange, which is the residency sort of powwow that happens. It happens in Boston, and the woman who runs it, Mary Sherman, is in Boston. So she started this thing where uh, she doesn't do it often. It's like maybe every 5 years. She invites people from all over the globe to come, and there's a big conference, and people sell their residency. You know, I mean, they talk about it, and they invite people. You know, they're saying, "Would you like to, and they give a talk about it. Would you like to come to it? And you can chat with them and things like that. So if anybody's interested, how do I find a residency? The transcultural exchange, it just happened. So now it won't happen for a while. But maybe, Rebecca, you did mention one was the, what do you call it, invite, but then others, do you check regularly there's so many out there, so many opportunities to find residencies. Do you check them regularly or?
Well, I would say that just from something like this, I've written down those and I'll look into those. From word of mouth from
Yeah.
other artists is probably the best, but then I have like I have a list. In fact, one of our mentors at Clark has put a list together of a bunch of
Oh, good.
residencies as
But
well.
your
So that's a
colleagues
good,
can know from
yeah.
that, yeah. But the longer, you interact with your colleagues from all these entities, AIB, Leslie, LUCAD, and now Clark. I mean, we have such a range of people that have been just about everywhere and done just about everything. So thank you so much. We have about 7 minutes. If anyone who's here, we have 22 people, maybe minus the 4 that have spoken. Ask any questions in the chat. I'm going to check the chat and see if there's anything in here. But you can,
Oh, Nancy, I think you might have muted yourself. There's a
yes. Okay,
There you go.
thank you. So question for Nayda. What space did you work in? And did you mention that you had a gallery exhibition at the end? I'm looking for a space to create an installation, but I believe Nayda answered it. Nobles and Greno
No.
School
Yeah.
in
But
Dedham.
that was at the school, and they provided a space for me to have my solo show. And then the other space was in Watertown, but they closed. They're not there anymore.
It was Drive-By Gallery.
It was a
What is the spelling of that residency? Let's see. Which one is that? Gallery 263. That's right. Gallery 263 is this tiny, amazing gallery in Cambridge that does a artist residency during the summer for a month. It's a small space, but they're really great people. So I recommend checking them out. So we have so we have Mildred's Lane, we have Woodstock. Anybody? Yeah, ask some questions while they're here. I forgot to mention the current open call for artist unresidency at UMass Boston Archives. That's right. Megan, would you like to give a plug for that?
Yeah, thank you. So there's a call currently to Art Plus Northeast members for an artist unresidency. It's a pilot program. We received the Innovators Grant from Art Plus Everywhere. And the artist residency invites artists to come to explore the archives at UMass Boston, find a collection or materials that inspires you, and to create artwork. And we have very extremely large gallery. We have 4 walls. Each wall is about 8 feet tall by, I think it's like 45 feet long. So we have 4 of those walls. And then we have all these cases. So the call has been extended to this coming Sunday, midnight. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Would love to have, group of artists come and play in the archives. And there'd also be an orientation, which is why we're asking for people from the Northeast area, just preference for people who can visit and come to the archives physically, though considerations will be made for people that can't visit, because we do have some collections online as well.
And you're also offering a small stipend as well,
That's right. Thank you. The
I mean,
stipend
to
will
receive
be,
money?
yes, the stipend will be divided among the total amount of artists. So there'll be 3 to 5 artists, depending on, how many applicants we have and, what we choose. So, and the total stipend is $1,500. So it'll be divided by the total number of artists that attend. And it's not, it's an unresidency. So you wouldn't be having studio space there. You would have to go home to your studio and do the work.
So there's a question for you, Megan. What would one find in the archive of UMass
Oh,
Boston?
super great question. So we have a series of collecting themes in which we collect. So there's the history of the university itself, UMass Boston, and then there's also the history of the Boston Harbor Islands. We have social welfare institution collections, which range from probably about almost 10 different orphanages from the local area, dating from about the 1800s to about 1940. We get a lot of genealogists that come through for that. We also have collections that cover grassroots organizations of Dorchester and Roxbury area. We have the papers of Judge Garrity, who presided over the Boston desegregation case in the 1970s. So a lot of collections on labor, social welfare. We have some arts. There's a lot. Let me put the link in, and then you can all look at all
Okay.
those themes.
Great. So we still have a few more minutes. Does anybody on the panel want to ask another person or anybody in the audience? Please write something in the chat.
There's a
Casey?
question here from Kaylee in the chat. I think it's to any of the panelists. It reads, do you have any insight or advice about limitations with materials and equipment while doing a residency? I'm a collage artist and rely heavily on printers and archive, and I wonder if you advise bringing fewer materials to push yourself in a new direction.
So what I can say is when I did my residencies, I already went with a project in mind. So I knew what materials to bring with me, what things I needed, especially when I learned screen printing for the first time. I had to do some research, communicate with an individual to make sure that I was bringing the right materials for that. So having a little bit of planning for me was what worked.
And me, I mean, if you saw my studio, you'll see that it's hard for me to travel anywhere without like a crate full of stuff. So at least when I went to the Cuddy Hunk one, I just brought looms and I was just thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna force myself to find whatever's there and just do something with it. And I was able to create like in 1 week, like 4 or 5 things that I feel like they were finished. But like, yeah, I don't like to bring everything because it is like a good it's a good exercise in trying to figure out something new.
Yeah.
I definitely went the other way because I figured if I was driving, I could put everything in the car. And so I just packed my car and I didn't take everything out at once. I slowly started tapping into different things, but I also wanted to try everything. So I was happy to just bring stuff and share it.
Yeah, I did the same. I wanted to bring everything.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much. Our first Art and Everywhere virtual program. I really appreciate everyone who volunteered to work with me. And I look forward to the next one. The next one will be in October. We're doing 4 a year.